So
big problems can happen in small departments.
They absolutely can.
You know.
And it's all a matter of perspective, you know. So some people, you never really know what to say. People are like, oh, how many people are in your department? And you say 38, or, you know, at one point we were 40. We hope to be back there at some time. And realistically, that's a mid-sized police department. You know, there's police departments in Pennsylvania that have 2-3 officers. So it's, and different departments have different problems. So,
but you can't ask just for mid-sized problems.
No, you get whatever problems come down the pipe. Whether there's 2 or 2,000.
And I guess because crime happens where it happens, and I guess the difference between a big department and a small department is that you're just going to get a lot more quantity in a larger department, because you always, you know, it's like a city with millions of people. There's always a fire. There's always, you know, ambulance calls and everything. And there's and you're on the brink. I thought you covered them all. You don't cover them all, but you do. I guess you butt up against Philly on the one side. They're kind of.
I think our closest border to border distance between the border of our township and the border of the city is probably about 7 or 8 miles.
Okay. So, but you've got the turnpike up at the one end.
Yeah, Willow Grove Turnpike Interchange is the 4th busiest interchange in the state. And really, I could geek out on you completely, staffing study-wise and stuff, but you get into population density and things like that too, you know, size-wise. There might be a 40-man department same size as ours, but they might cover 20 or 30 square miles, and they might only have a residential population of 10,000. Whereas, like our township is just over 7 square miles, and we have a residential population of just shy of 25,000, and in the daytime that goes up to around 70 or 80,000.
I think I'd rather have the 10,000 and a lot of open woods to explore.
So it's, you know, there's even a difference in between departments that have the same number of officers when you get into demographics and size of the municipality they're covering, and population density and numbers of calls for service you have and things of that nature. So it's it really is specific. And like you said, there's no big things can happen in small places and small things can happen in big places. It's you just never know.
Well, people don't realize, and it's like I know it gets annoying to people, but I'll be over somebody's house and I'll go, what? You need to lock your door, man. Oh no, a safe neighborhood said, that the sheriffs could be transporting somebody back to that prison that's a couple miles from here, and that van breaks down a mile from here while you're eating fine chicken salad off of nice linen and using 4 forks, and all chaos breaks loose, you know, and you don't want to be the doorknob that gets jiggled that opens.
It took me I was born and raised out in farm country in Berks County. I actually moved down closer to the city for the job, and it took me the longest time after I became a police officer my parents were those people too. You know, we lived in a little sleepy farm town, and convincing them to lock their doors at night and lock their cars, it was a difficult thing to do, and it may not have been justified, but it only takes that one time. And
it's such an easy thing to do, and just to not have that problem come into your life. And it's like locking cars. We had the police chief from Jenkintown on, and thankfully that's his biggest problem is people not locking their cars, you know. And it's nice to have that as your problem, but it's still, it's you know, have faith, trust in God, but lock your car. Because I've done that. I've had that happen once, and I went in to take a quick nap. I left my tools on the back seat, windows down. Came out, my tools were gone. It was a matter of reaching in the window, and somebody decided they needed my tools more than I needed to protect them. And while it annoyed me, I thought I kind of donated it. I looked at it as a donation for an education. But the how many calls do you guys see in a year? Ballpark,
we're usually between 25 and 30,000 calls for service in a year.
Wow. So that's is that high, normal, average for the area? You were talking about you're geeking out on statistics.
That's it's pretty average for the area. I mean, we can dip anywhere into the low 20s. We can go anywhere up into the mid 30s. It all depends on how you track your numbers too.
That's like 100 a day, right?
It some days it can be. Our day shift guys, they're, we're definitely to the point where most days we're what they call stacking calls, where you have more calls coming in, you have officers to handle them, so they kind of have to prioritize what's the most important and make others wait. And we run into that situation more often than we don't anymore.
Do a percentage of the calls just drop off on their own and solve themselves?
Some do. Sometimes you get that call back saying, never mind, we got it. Sometimes it's because people get tired of waiting.
Yeah.
Somebody locks their keys in their car. It's easier to call us to come out and try to open the car up than to call mom or dad or brother or sister or whoever and have them wait for them to drive them out from home. But, those would be that low priority type call that you're like, you got to stack that. It's going to have to wait for
shame versus patience,
crash report or whatever. And sometimes they'll call back and never mind, I got somebody to bring keys out, or I got it myself, or something along those lines.
That's good they call back at least.
But a lot of times they wait, and we try to get to them as fast as we can. But it's the nature of the beast.
And you said you guys are I don't know if you want to say it on here, but you guys are looking for officers. You didn't say that exactly, but are you? In the future, you're going to be...
Oh, yeah, we're always looking for officers. Montgomery County actually has what's called the Consortium of Communities. It's probably, 15 or 18 different municipalities that all kind of band together and put on one universal test that all of those agencies draw off of. And we hold one of those every year, usually sometime around May or June. And that's what we determine that's the first step in the process, at least, coming out and taking that written test, applying and taking the written exam. And that we do every year, and we always establish a list off of that and try to keep ourselves prepared to hire, just between attrition or guys retiring, guys getting hurt, somebody getting a work-related injury and having to go out on workman's comp or something where we need to replace officers. It's not a revolving door, but we definitely have a need on a pretty regular basis, so we're always testing and prepping to hire officers. Do you
use part-timers at all?
We do not. We are a full-time only police department. Even our civilian staff, even our clerks, we don't do part-timers.
Okay. And I guess the consortium thing is to standardize and cut costs with regard to doing it instead of everybody doing it.
It makes things easier, but actually, in this day and age, we're seeing less and less police candidates come out and take the test. I'll give you an example. What would be 25 years ago when I took the test, it took a while to get through the process and get hired. So the test I got hired off of 25 years ago was a consortium test, and I think somewhere around 2,300 people took the exam. And that was for maybe 4 or 5 openings amongst the departments that were drawing off of the test. This past test that we just had at the beginning of this past summer, I think people that actually showed up and took the written exam, I don't think we even got out of the 300s.
Wow.
And then you have, the next step is a physical fitness test, and you have a few that don't show up for that, and then you get into interviews, and literally till we finished up our complete process to the point that we were ready to start doing background investigations, which is kind of the last step before you're ready to offer someone a job. We have, I think, 11 candidates on our list.
Out of 300 and some.
Right.
And so background checks thin herd.
They do. They do tend to do that. Polygraph machines make people nervous.
Yeah, it's like going in the woods and firing a shot in the middle of deer. And now the background check. I see that with volunteers. We'll get people and everybody has different background check policies, and you'll get somebody who wants to volunteer, and you're going through all the stages, and then if somebody brings up the background check more than twice, you start to worry, because they're asking too much about it. They're a little too worried. But that's discouraging that the numbers have dropped that much, because there's if you don't get people from an age group or a generation, they're not going to be represented,
Right.
down the road, and it's kind of like I was saying the other day, and I'm making a generalization, so don't everybody get upset, but it's like there was this dramatic gap in, if you look at fire police, you have fire police that are either 70 plus or 20. And there's this whole middle ground where there was a gap because those guys are 70 plus held the line for so long.
Right.
And
you end up not having any. I think the fire police in our fire department in Upper Moreland in Willow Grove, when I first started, there had to be at least 10 or 15 fire police. We are down to 2 active right now, maybe 3.
And that's not enough. That's not fair to them.
No, and they regularly pull from, there's mutual aid, and we're all about helping each other out, and so there's always somebody that's going to come out and get the job done. But it's I wish we could see more of it coming out, and I think part of that goes back to what we talked about earlier in the interview too, about just improving those relations and not having such a negative stigma one way or the other. I think even people that might have thought about doing law enforcement, especially out of all the public services, people that thought about doing that at one point are like, I'm not sure if I want to, I don't know if I want that many people hating me. I don't know if I want to have to worry about being scrutinized by the media or getting myself arrested for making a mistake in a split second. And I think that scares some people away that might normally consider the job. And I definitely think that we need to work on remedying the bigger problem that lies behind that, so we can move past it, and hopefully that starts increasing our numbers and seeing recruitment get a little bit better and seeing a little better showing from the generation that's getting ready to come of age and start looking to get these kinds of jobs.
Well, going back to your earlier thing, have you thought about civilian police academy like they do in places? That'd be right up your alley with the training and everything.
I actually instituted There is a Citizens Police Academy in Horsham. It's jointly run by Horsham and Hatboro officers, and it is open to Upper Moreland residents. We actually go and help teach them some of their subjects throughout the academy. Some of the specialty stuff, we'll send SWAT guys or our K9s for the demonstrations on those particular nights. So that's available to adults. But again, I feel it's really important that we establish those. If we can get that positive image and establish that good relationship with the youth as they're coming up, then that's more ingrained in them. And maybe by catching them, not to say that it's not worth it to deal with adults or give them that training, but if we can start breaking that stigma right from when kids are younger, that they're exposed to the police. And so we just had our 4th summer. I instituted 4 years ago, I started a junior police academy at our department.
Okay.
And it's almost like a camp run by our Parks and Rec. It's a 2-day program, 2 8-hour days where we'll take cadets in and we kind of put them through the motions. We show them a little bit about what we do. This is what a patrol officer does. This is what a detective does. Here's a station tour. Here's our K9. These are what those officers go through. Here's our SWAT guys. This is the equipment they have. This is what they do a little bit different. And we intersperse some fun activities. We play games with them. We let them do activities. We try to bring in a different group every year, whether it's the fire guys with a fire truck or the ambulance guys with an ambulance. We bring in the bomb squad with the robots, and we'll do demonstrations like that. And over the 2 days, we have a lot of good interaction with the kids. We actually have a lot of repeat kids. You can attend from ages 8 to 13, and we have a lot of kids that have been there 4 years, 3 years, 2 years. Younger siblings come, and it's kind of all spread word of mouth. And we max out to capacity every single year. And I think that's kind of where it starts, because now, I'm doing a walkthrough in a school, or I'm out somewhere in the community doing something and somebody's walking by. And it's not, oh, let's cross the other side of the street, there's the cops. It's, hey, Lieutenant Troxel, remember me from the Junior Police Academy? We did the whatever. And they realize that you're a person and you're okay. And they actually might even come up and engage you in a conversation. And I think that's hitting that at that age and letting them move forward with kind of a, maybe not just falling right into that stigma of it, will hopefully start bringing things around.
Yeah, and you can't put a value on that. You know, you're not going to see. There's no way you can